Aloha, everyone. Hi, my name is Anderson Lam, the Artistic Director for the Hawaii International Film Festival. Thanks for coming to this special Q&A for one of our panorama films, I'm Your Woman. We're very excited to have this film here as part of the HIFF 40th anniversary festival presented by Holly Kalani. Before we start and before I introduce the cast and crew for the film, just a really quick housekeeping bits regarding the festival. If you want to find out more about the updates, added screenings, what have you, read about our various spotlights and blog entries, just go to our website at hiff.org, hiff.org for all the information. This film is also eligible for the Audience Award. So if you want to vote for your favorite film, just go to hawaiinewsnow.com/HIFF. Or also just go to the program page for I'm Your Woman, and then there should be an Audience Award link button there to vote for your favorite films. I want to give a mahalo to Hawaii News Now for sponsoring our Audience Award. Okay, so we're very honored to have this Q&A here. And I'd like to introduce, before I introduce the entire team, I'd like to introduce Julia Hart, who is the writer-director for the film, and also Jordan Horowitz, who's also co-writer and also producer for this film, I'm Your Woman. They're the power couple when it comes to the film world right now. Julian and Jordan, I give you the honors of introducing your amazing cast.
Thank you so much, Anderson. We're so excited to be here. First, I want to introduce Marcia Stephanie Blake, who plays Terry in the film.
Hello, everyone.
And then I'll introduce Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Jean in the film and also produced the film alongside Jordan.
How are you doing, Rachel? Hi. And then also, we also have the great honor of also just of having Rachel be one of our honorees as the Holly Kalani Maverick Award honoree. And she just finished her 1-hour conversation with our executive director, Becky Stokedi. Hi, Rachel. Thank you. And Marcia, thank you for joining us. So, I mean, I'm Your Woman. I absolutely loved it. It's, it kind of has that, 70s crime drama feel that I love, especially from that era. I'm a big fan of that era. And then I'm just a fan of Jordan and Julia, your work as collaborators. I call you the South by Southwest power couple because a lot of your films I've seen their premieres at South by Southwest, including Miss Stevens with Lily Ray and A Fast Color with it's just like Gugu and Patha Raw and those are just amazing screenings. Just to talk about kind of how you collaborated and what was the kind of like impetus for I'm Your Woman, because I think your films are very varied. I think in the sense that they have there was a common there's the common thread of having strong female characters be the leads in all your films, but you work in various genres. You also work in, like, your last one was Stargirl, which is for Disney Plus, and unfortunately, like I said, I'm not that demographic, so I unfortunately haven't seen that film. But can you talk about yeah, exactly. I will.
Great.
But can you talk about kind of the impetus for I'm Your Woman and how you got involved?
Well, thank you. I am very honored that you called us the South by Southwest Power Couple. I love that festival. I love Janet Pearson. And maybe
Janet was at our festival last year too. So
she's the best. She was very supportive of our work from the start, and hopefully someday we'll be the power couple of the Hawaii International Film Festival. That'll be our next goal. So yeah, I mean, all of our films definitely have strong female leads, and we have always loved different genres of film, and a lot of those genres have traditionally been male dominated. And so what I find really fun as a female director is getting to dive into all of those different genres, but from the female perspective that has been so oft neglected in them. And so, I think we were on a bit of like a 70s crime drama binge when it was it was in particular when we were watching Michael Mann's first feature, Thief. And there's a moment where Tuesday Weld goes one way and the movie goes another. And I love that movie. It's one of my most favorite movies. And I love where it goes, but I found myself just wanting to know where she went, what happened to her, what her story ultimately was. And then when you start to look at all of those great 70s crime dramas that have these awesome female supporting characters, you know, they often leave the story when the action gets going. And so that was where we first started to come up with the idea of Jean and the other characters in the world around her.
Yeah, in general, just wanting to authentically follow women that were in those pictures. And that tends to be a way we like to approach genre and flipping genre, which is not to say let's take what this has been and put a woman in what would have been the man's role, but who were women authentically in these pictures. And if we kind of tug on what happens when they would have traditionally been off screen, it very often results in something that feels different from those genre things, but still reliably inside that genre. So it always winds up going to a place that we kind of don't anticipate, but are willing to just follow.
I like the Tuesday Weld shout out. And Thief is a great film. How did you, and then was it a long process of collaborating on the script and getting the story right before?
Yeah, we were working on this one. Like, we started writing this before we made Fast Color and before we made Stargirl. And we just kind of like kept coming back to it and kept letting it marinate and just really wanted to wait until we had the right partners and the right actors to make it, because, you know, it's a period piece that is female driven with set pieces. You know, there's a big shootout, there's a car chase, like you need certain resources in order to pull that off correctly. So we just kind of waited and were patient, and then everything came together. So we feel really lucky that we waited.
And then maybe Rachel, you signed on board, and then but you're also a producer. Can you talk about how you collaborated on more on the producerial role with the rest of the team?
Well, as you guys said, they had been working on this beautiful script for such a long time, and it was a real treat to be able to come into the process when they so graciously invited me inside their really special working relationship, sort of at the tail end of script development, and it was very, very cool to get like a little bit of a glimpse inside this working partnership that I had admired from the outside. It was such a treat to be able to be involved for the first time with a project from this early stage, and to have, in addition to learning so much underneath Jordan and alongside both of these guys, to be able to spend this much time with a character and see the changes that the character underwent, and to be able to use some of that stuff as context as we began the formal pre-production of the project. It was a brand new experience for me, and one that not only enriched the experience of actually shooting the project and the subsequent post-production, but I think added a lot to performance, to be able to spend so much time in conversation with Julia and Jordan about the project and about the role.
Mm-hmm. What's great about, and then going back to Julian and Jordan, what's great about the film, the tone, it's like, it's a slow burn. It's very, very much a slow burn type of film. And, with Rachel's character, Jean, just trying to figure things out, just kind of thrown into, kind of into the fray, so to speak, right? So how was it, when it comes to casting, with Rachel, but also with Terry's character, played by Marcia, is like, she's kind of, she knows the world. She's like kind of like bringing Jean's character in. Like, how was it like in the casting process? What were you looking for in the type of actor you're going to basically play Terry, play the character of Terry?
Well, Rachel did that job for me. When Rachel, because it was always our plan to cast Jean first, and we went to Rachel with the project, and then she also came on as a producer, which was also a first for us and such an awesome experience. As she said, like being able to be a producer and a partner with Jordan in that regard, but also what being a producer allowed her to do in terms of the preparation process and just getting to spend more time and more in-depth time around the project and around the character of Jean. But when Rachel and I first spoke, when Rachel first read the script, she was like, who are you thinking about for Terry? And I was like, oh, there's a couple people we've been talking about. She was like, well, Marcia Stephanie Blake should play Terry. And she did. And Rachel was right. Like Rachel said, when she first read the script, the only actor she could picture was Marcia Stephanie. And then once Rachel put that idea into our heads, Marcia Stephanie was the only person we could picture too. And she just she brought so much to the character that wasn't even there on the page in the first place. And it was just, I feel very grateful that Rachel brought her into my life and into this film.
Marcia Stephanie, I mean, when you were approached to play Terry, what was your, how did you see the character in your mind's eye as an actor? And what you can bring something that's unique to the character itself? To Terry?
First, I think my first reaction when Rachel told me about this script that she had and this part that she thought was right for me, I thought, oh my God, this is the best compliment, but there's no way, because you always want to work with people that you love and that you've worked with before, who you love working with, but it rarely ever works out. And so in my mind, I was just like, I'm not going to get too excited because it's just never going to work out. So the fact that it did was miraculous enough.
She was so wrong.
I know, I kept being like, it's not going to happen. I was such a doubter. But so then to get the actual script, and this was before I had the script, to get the script and to love the script. And then I went and watched Julia's other films. I went and watched Miss Stevens, and I went and watched Fast Color. Just so happens I'm good friends with Lily Rabe. So I spoke to Lily, and I thought, my God, to be offered this job, this is what you want as an actor, right? You want to work with people you love, your friends, who you also respect, whose work you admire. And then to find out that everyone else associated with the project is also just fantastic and has the best reputation amongst, your friends that you trust. It was just everything I wanted. And then to get the script, to read it, to realize that Terry's part was something that I quite frankly don't get to really play a lot, just because she has a little bit more power than I normally have in roles. I feel like my role is usually a woman who's been severely traumatized and she's in the middle of the trauma, right? And so this was someone who had gone through the trauma and had gone past it, successfully gotten past it, through it, and now is coming back to help someone else get through it. And she's coming back with a lot of knowledge and familiarity, a little bit of resistance, but also she has a certain amount of power that I really loved, and just power in her stillness and in the quiet that is Terry. I feel like we had a line, I'm not sure if it's still there, but it's all these quiet women. And I brought my knowledge of quiet women in my life, which are like my mom and my aunts. They say very little, but they're incredibly strong women. And so that's how I approached Terry, is that line stuck in my head, all these quiet women.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's what's great about the film is that the performance is so more internalized. I mean, just like you gotta. I mean, with Terry's character, you just gotta figure her out. Like, is she good? Is she bad? It's like it's right. Like it's and that's what's great. You're making the audience work and figure things out, which is great. And then maybe and then Rachel, you can chime in regarding your performance as well, because this is a very internalized role. It's definitely not like, for example, like someone like you're most known for Midge, and the Miss Maisel is very, you're playing budding comedian and stuff like that. But this is much more of other characters kind of thrown into the fray, just figuring things out, and not knowing who's good and who's bad, who's going to help you, who's not. But maybe Julian and Jordan, can you talk about kind of like trying to find these like multi-layered characters and just trying to kind of kind of write on the screen, and how to kind of parlay that on paper or on the script, and how to parlay that on the screen when it comes to these like characters who are kind of suspect in kind of like you don't know if they're over their morality or where they're coming from.
Well, I think, in being most interested in female characters as a filmmaker, going along with what Marsha Stephanie was saying, there are so many quiet women. There is so much happening on the inside. There is so much internalization out of a defense mechanism, safety, protection. Women are not socialized to speak their mind. And when we do, we're called all sorts of names. And I think it's really interesting to show, and it's something that we can only do so much on the page, and it's one of my favorite things in the relationship between being the writer and then being the director, is getting to work with the actors on what you can't possibly put into words that can only appear on an actor's face. Mm-hmm. And I find that to be most satisfying and interesting when I am working with female actors on female characters. And so, a lot of those films, again, going back to those crime dramas in the 70s, a lot of those films, it is very much about externalized action. And so it was really fun to live in that period and live in that world, but see so much of what's going on the inside.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just referenced, I think Jean-Luc Godard's, a movie needs a girl and a gun, right? But this is definitely more than that in that sense. But and then you have these complex characters, and I think it's
well, it's interesting because his thing is a movie needs a girl and a gun. This movie is a girl and a gun,
right?
And that's the difference.
Exactly. That's a difference. Can you talk about? I mean, Rachel, do you want to talk about your character, Jean?
Yeah, it was a real gift, as you said, to be able to reach inside a person who is so different from this character that I've also had the great privilege of playing the last couple of years. And I'm really grateful to that time spent with Julia in particular, letting me kind of work out the things about that transition that made me nervous. The projects were shot very close together. We were in pre-production already when we were finishing the third season of Maisel. And Julia and I spent a great deal of time together talking about what was going on inside Jean's head as a woman who is very selective about the things that she shares and that she says. We had a lot of really beautiful and important discussions about trauma and Jean's trauma in particular, and how that informs the woman that you meet at the beginning of the film, how that trauma is built on, and how ultimately it affects how she moves through that journey in every single moment. And Julia said something really beautiful about the nature of trauma, which is that for Jean, it's that filing cabinet inside of her head that holds her understanding of the world. When this baby arrives, it's just exploded on the floor. Mm-hmm. And she's spending this entire film trying to put things back together and trying to put the files back in order that she understands. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of that really is the core of Jean's journey here. And at some point, I think that she realizes that order that she understood before isn't going to serve her anymore. And right. She needs to put things back together in a way that makes sense to her now. And and that journey was a quiet one at times, and was really fulfilling to be able to stretch and reach through that with Jean. Welcome back, friend.
Welcome back.
It's all of
We're back.
Yay! Yeah.
Sorry about you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Actually, Rachel and maybe and definitely Marsha, Stephanie, can you talk about? I mean, obviously you know each other, outside this film. And did you talk about your characters and how to kind of create that dynamic between? Because character Terry is kind of disingenuous, at least in the very beginning of the film, and what have you.
What?
I don't know. She feels pretty straightforward.
You just can't figure her out. That's what it is.
That's right. Yeah.
We didn't talk a ton before we got on set, which was really nice. We just kind of dove into rehearsals with Julia and started reading scenes out loud. And I mean, I loved that, even though the scene didn't ultimately make its way into the film, but I think it was that time we spent in the baby shed you guys.
Oh yes.
Talking about
I know
their relationship.
and the mud and the rain and the heaters. Yeah, that was actually like the most.
I just want to clarify that the baby shed was a good thing.
Yeah,
like, this was a place that we had for babies. It wasn't a shed where we stuck babies.
Where we stuck babies, right?
It was a warm, cozy.
It was a warm, cozy place.
For the
that was a holding area. For
and their mom.
The time we spent in the baby shed.
Right.
Sounds like a horror movie, but it was really special. That was a night when we were talking about a really important scene and a pivotal turning point in their relationship.
Yeah.
And it was nice to get. I mean, we got to do this a little bit. We did Othello together in 2000.
I think that was part of my issue was I kind of knew Rachel too well.
Yeah.
Whereas Terry doesn't know Jean at all. Right. And vice versa. So I preferred to talk less, especially in the earlier scenes, just because I wanted as little information about this woman as possible. Because like you said, it's hard to figure out what their relationship is, where it's going, who's a good guy, not a good. And I think Terry's thinking all those things like, who is this person that I'm helping? Or trying to help, and the same for Jean. She doesn't, especially now her world's been turned upside down. She has no idea who to trust and who not to. So I think we were like, let's not talk too much. Let's just kind of see where we go. And then other than the baby shed day, we didn't do like a ton of talking about things.
Right.
Yeah.
Jordan, I mean, with this being a period piece, I mean, like as a producer, I mean, maybe you're not intimately involved in that sense, but it is a period piece. It's set in the 70s. My thing is anachronisms. How do you have that 70s feel when it comes to the costumes and the props and all that stuff, the cars and are you a stickler when it comes to
For me, it was just making sure that we had the resources for Julia and our department heads to do the work that they needed to do. So that was the producing angle. I mean, you can speak to the creative because I actually think you have a very specific point of view on it. That because it's a period piece, but it's not like a 70s movie. And I think that was very much intentional. So I can let you speak on that.
Yeah, I think our main touchstone across departments in terms of production design, costumes, photography, hair and makeup, everything, our picture car department, all of those gorgeous cars that we have in the film. It drives me crazy when I watch a 70s movie and it's like everything in the movie is from 1973, and that's not how real life works. In my house, I have records from the 50s and a chair from the 70s, and then, you have a coat that's brand new. And so I thought it was really important to make it feel more like those movies instead of a period piece. And so it was really fun mixing up, making sure we had cars from a couple of different periods, making sure we had music from a couple of different periods. And I think our cap was 1975. We wanted to really keep everything from somewhere before that. But it was really fun making those places and those people feel like they were stepping out of that period instead of some type of caricature of it.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you do, there was a really nice shorthand with this movie because we worked with Gabe Buckley, our production designer. We worked with Bryce Fortner, who shot the movie. We worked with Natalie O'Brien, who did the costumes. So there was a really nice shorthand in those particular departments, and there was always a pursuit of I think authenticity. Does it feel honest? Is it connected to narrative?
Right.
And that was always the sort of driving force behind it.
And then you also want it to feel authentic to the period, but you also want it to feel modern and of this moment. And, in order to achieve that, we would make certain choices like, okay, the inclination might be to shoot this on film with vintage lenses, but we didn't do that. We shot it digitally on brand new lenses because that was what captured the period cars and the period locations in a way that made it feel like it was something of this moment as well as that moment.
Can you talk? I mean, anyone can jump in, but definitely you're absolutely right that it's not. It is, although it's set in the 70s, it's not a 70s film per se, but because you're shifting the gaze, right? You're shifting the gaze here. And then so I think that's like, I mean, there's always that kind of like pigeonholing it to, or trying to compare it to say like Cassavetes or Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, those type of films. But those are
I'll take it though.
Yeah, sure, yeah, great. But like I mean, like it's still from a like I would say like a male perspective in a sense, and like so I think it's very fascinating in that sense. Like how did you feel like I guess Marsha, Stephanie, and Rachel, like this is like a film about women on the run, or so to speak, that that it is on approaching this role and approaching these films. This film is that it is like a shifting of the gaze in the sense of how it's different from other films that you equate this to or relate this to.
One of the things that I love so much about working with Julia, and I've probably said this to you badly in a number of ways, Julia, that is how unapologetically female the gaze is on and off camera. Julia is such an unapologetically female leader, and that's something to be embraced. And those, this is not a knock on women who sort of occupy more male spaces as women in this industry, or more male kind of modes of operating. But one of the things that feels so distinctly different about working with Julia is that I feel like everyone, the men and the women on set in every position, feel that permission to be themselves and to be vulnerable in their art making. And that is an experience that I have not very often had, where that trickle down effect, it brings out the best in people, and it brings out something different in people. And I think you can see that in every frame of this movie from every department. And that was really freeing and exciting in a new way. Again, not there's not a better or a worse way, but this is a different way, and it is something to be embraced, and something that I look forward to being a part of more. It was, I have never seen some of the softer sides of grips and electrics the way that we got to experience on this film. It felt like a different kind of collaboration, and that's not a male or a female thing. That's a distinctly Julia thing. But it was really lovely to be a part of. Yeah.
Marsha, Stephanie, I think I'm going to just go back to your comment that just resonates to me, like that, your character of Terry is basically, she's a survivor, basically through, she went through trauma. And in a way, if there was a timeline that, Jean's character, you're seeing herself in Jean, and that you've kind of passed that threshold, right? So, and then like how that informed your character as well. And maybe just talk a little bit more about that and how you kind of framed your character in that sense.
Well, I think the people will have watched the film, right? So I
Yes.
can say this, that Terry is, again, she is somewhat of a reluctant help to Jean. I think she would have preferred to go live her life in somewhere else away from this life, and she gets pulled back into it. So there's a lot of questioning that's happening in the beginning. Why is she doing it? Who is she doing this for? Is this person like worth it, really? Is this something that's going to end up causing her family harm? And I think a big part of Terry's motivations is, I need to protect my family. And that has to come before anyone else, because it just has to. Because when she got out, that's what she promised herself she would do. And then she meets Jean. And I think what gets her is that Jean is so vulnerable. And there has to be a part of her that sees herself in Jean and realizes also, she, at the dinner table, she talks about all the people who helped her when she was on the run. So I think there's a part of her that realizes, oh, okay, so much as I would really rather not be here. I have to help this woman in the same way that other people helped me, that they responded to my vulnerability, that they helped me get out. She's vulnerable. She's a good person. She's a good woman. She doesn't deserve this. I need to help her. But I don't know that it's all altruistic. I mean, I think she feels somewhat forced at first. And that Jean's, even her naivety is annoying, for lack of a better word. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like someone who, and also just the fact that she talks a lot too. I think there's something about how much Jean speaks and how little Terry does that Terry is, in my mind anyway, is a person who would just encourage her to like listen more, pay attention more, stop talking so much, you know. But Jean wants to like know everything that's going on all the time, and Terry's just like, just stop. We need to like do an assessment of what's going on, because you're going to miss things because you're busy trying to figure it out. You're going to actually miss what's actually going on. So, you know, there's like that little push and pull that's happening in the beginning, but I think ultimately she grows to really like care about her, and it's based on how she sees her interacting with her son and then my son and my, you know, and Cal's dad, and it just like every part of whatever Jean reveals to me, and also that she is also like a dog with a bone, like she is determined, and I admire that too. You know, there's a part of me that's like, she's annoying, but damn it. she's like really strong. She's gonna make it. You know, she's gonna make it.
The tenacity, okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
There's something about that I actually admire also. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Julian and Jordan, like, what's the plans for the films that we're, you know, for the film? And it's on the festival circuit. It world premiere as the opening night film for AFI Fest, and you know, it's playing at various festivals around the country. You know, for people who've missed the screening, hopefully we have the drive-in screening, and you know, a couple more cinema screenings here in Hawaii. But what is the plan for the film? In this distribution plan?
I wish we could be there. It sounds so nice. I dream about seeing this movie on a big screen with an audience.
Yeah.
And it will be coming out in theaters on December 4th, and then on Amazon Prime.
The 11th.
Everywhere.
Oh
no, that's not what I was asking.
Oh.
It's everywhere, right?
Worldwide, yeah.
Yeah, worldwide on December 11th.
Right. And what is worldwide? You know, it's the world we live in now. What is everyone? I mean, I know that you were working. You shot the film and you were in post production during the pandemic. So was it? How was that adjusting to that sense of like everyone working remotely?
It was. To Amazon's credit, they kind of like they turned on the lights to a remote, you know, work environment over a weekend essentially. They and our kids' school like adjusted like that. It was pretty amazing. It was a challenge, adapting, you know, doing things remotely, cutting remotely was, you know, challenging, but doable. You know, where we were in our process, I was really grateful for, you know, we were deep into, Julia's edit. So we had a lot of time.
We got to show the studio, the director's cut in their theater. Yeah, which was awesome because they got to see, you know, the full potential of it, and you know the thing. It was tricky, but as he said, we were so blessed that Amazon was able to make everything work, and I was also just so impressed by how creative, you know, people who are so good at their jobs, but who have been doing their jobs for a certain way for decades or years or whatever, having to completely change the way that they do their job and finding creative solutions, having a sense of humor about it, being willing to try new things, just made me love a crew that I already loved.
And that obviously has continued to here. We're doing a Q&A on Zoom. So, you know, we're all continuing to adapt and be creative. And, you know, obviously there's stuff that has now become precedental in terms of the way we do these things as there is a pandemic happening, but like I continue to be amazed and impressed by the variety of creative ways that people have found to go about making and releasing and talking about work at a time where I think we do, we need some semblance of that community and art and all of that. So it's been, there are always, it's been a challenging time, but there are gifts if you look.
And this is for everyone, just the final question, can you reveal what you're working on next?
Rachel can.
I'm going back to another season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, hopefully in January. And then hopefully, pending all these things, into a film called The Switch with Amblin, which I'm really
great.
About. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, and you also had another film at Sundance, right? The Courier.
Yes, The Courier. We have had to push our release date a couple of times because of the situation, but I'm excited for everyone to eventually get to see that too.
Marsha, Stephanie,
I will only say I have nothing major to reveal, but I will say I am learning. I am back in first grade, and I'm learning how to. Today we did adjectives, so I'm doing adjectives, and I'm learning how to do subtraction and addition, like 7 plus 4 equals 11. 7 minus 4 is 3, you guys. That is where I am all day long until I put on makeup and come sit in front of this computer.
And what about the South by Southwest power couple here?
We are writing a movie about a power couple that premieres their film South by Southwest.
We're doing. We're working.
Are you available?
We're working on a TV version of Fast Color for Amazon.
Oh wow!
We're doing something else for Disney. I have stuff. A couple things I'm producing. Another thing for Amazon that isn't Julia directing, which happens, on occasion.
Occasionally.
And we're fortunate that we're writers, so we've been taking the time to do a bunch of development, some writing work, and we're excited to get back into production. Hopefully, spring of next year.
This is the first fall we've been home in a few years. We made Stargirl in the fall of 2018. We made I'm Your Woman in the fall of 2019. So it's just been really. I got to be with my kids on Halloween this year for the first time in a couple of years because we were shooting the last 2 Halloweens. It was a weird Halloween, but I got to be with them. So we feel very lucky.
Yeah, but we're definitely now excited to get back into a lot. We have a lot of friends who are in production, and it's a challenge, but doing production during the pandemic, but definitely doable. And people have been doing it successfully, so we're excited. Sometime top of next year to get back into production, and
that's great.
Making movies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most exciting thing I heard from there is that you're continuing the universe of Fast Color because, and I don't want to get into it, but the distribution was totally botched in that film. It's incredible, and I'm just glad that it lives on. Yeah, exactly. It just lives on, and that this is very exciting news.
It's such a rare gift as a filmmaker to get. Not a do-over, but like a keep going,
an expansion,
because it was always a world that felt like it wanted to be a graphic novel or a television show, and so the fact that Amazon was like, "Here you go, let's do it," was really exciting. That we've been having fun digging back into that world and those characters.
Yeah. And on that note, I want to thank Amazon for giving us this film, I'm Your Woman, to be part of the Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Halekulani. We're very honored to have this film, and I'm very honored to have cast and crew of the film here in this Q&A. We're showing the film this weekend, and I'm sure people are going to love it. And so this concludes our Q&A for I'm Your Woman, and I want to just give a big mahalo a thank you to our volunteers, our amazing staff, our board of directors, our audience members, and our HIFF Ohana. We can't do it without you. And also, if this is trying times, and if you are able, please consider donating to our HIFF40 for 40 campaign. This is basically our goal to raise $40,000 during the festival during our 40th anniversary. So for more information, just go to our website, HIFF.org. and then click on the HIFF40 for 40 button and learn more about the campaign, and also, if you can, donate to the campaign. So thank you again to Marsha Stephanie Blake, to Rachel Brosnahan, to Julia Hart and Jordan Horowitz for joining us for the special Q&A.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Mahalo, and we'll see you guys soon.
Mahalo.
Yeah, hopefully one day in Hawaii too. So
one day in Hawaii.
You'll be the HIFF power couple. It's a plan to stop us.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.